You're tuned to the Leading Edge with Scent, the pulse of cricket podcast. I'm Scent. Every week we bring you the stories, insights, and moments that drive this beautiful game. So hit the subscribe button and let's get straight into it. Welcome to another week of Leading Edge with Scent at Roundy Podcast Studios. I have a guest today. I have a guest this week. She's back actually. Maybe at some point she's not going to be a guest. Maybe she should be like more like a feature, because we are about to get some insights, women's cricket. Yeah, well, Corne, welcome back.
Thank you, Zane. Thank you for welcoming back.
Yes. So we are going to start where everyone wants us to start, and that's the World Cup. We made it to the finals.
Woo! We made it to the finals.
I feel like that's a win.
Yep.
A lot of people were disappointed. I was not disappointed. I actually felt that was a win, and maybe it was India's time, but our time is coming. What was your take on that?
You're hitting it on the head, on the nail on the head. While I was watching the game, the thought crossed my mind. The big word that we call our men. It starts with a C. Chokers.
Ah,
Because every time the men's side lose in a final, they're called chokers. But the women, we're not, because it is a win. It is a big win. They did us so proud. It's like we expected them to do well, but I don't think people necessarily just expected a final. And when it happened, it was above what some of us thought, especially considering the first game.
yes.
Like after the first game, nobody was like, "Oh, we're going to go to final." Nobody would just say that. So I think they surprised us all with the performances that they put out there, and earning their space in the final at the end of the day.
You're speaking about the first match, and I'm going to ask you something about that based on you being a coach as well. But I do feel that they can't be labeled as chokers, and the only reason I would say that is that they finally beat England. They finally beat England in the semi-final after
In a
two
semi-final.
chances, after two previous field attempts. So they can't be chokers. They actually won. But as a coach, what would you have done? I think we were bowled out for 64 and we lost, was it 8 wickets or 9 wickets? I can't remember properly. How do you speak to your team when it's like that? Because these players are actually quite good.
Yeah. No, after something like that, you basically forget about it. You try and forget about it as much as possible, and you have your target in your eyes, in front of you. Because one game is not going to define a tournament. Once again, you speak to positives. Whatever positives they spoke about within their change room, only they would know. Because how can I say? I would say I can't speak too much about that because I've never coached on that high level. But if I take a similar situation which has happened on local level, we've played away games, and there was one game our team was bowled out for something like 29 runs, and I know everybody in the team can play. So we had to move on from that, and the quicker you can move on from that and have in that time, so the league and all the other games that were on, we kept our focus on to recover and go play the cricket that we know we can play. And I'm sure that was similarly something that was said in the Proteas change room after that England game. Let's forget about this and play our next game like we know we can play. Because a score doesn't define you as a player. Your stats doesn't define you necessarily as a player. There's so much more behind it. I mean, how can you imagine World Cup pressure if you've never played in it? You'll never know how those players feel. And that's also cricket at the end of the day. Cricket humbles us. And it teaches us these things that you can't expect anything. You can't just think, okay, that's a plan. This is how it's going to go. Things don't always turn out that way. How are you going to recover from that, and how are you going to stand up and do better next time?
And there's the notion of senior players. I I really feel senior players at that point in time probably it's so important to have a positive team culture and your senior players probably stepping up. Um, with the Proteas, I can't necessarily say there were just few senior players that stand up or junior players. Literally everyone stood up in specific times. There was a time where Marizan Cup was the player. There was a time where our captain, especially at the end, Tasman, she probably didn't have the best of World Cups, but she had a good World Cup as well because she did get a century.
Yep.
There's no one in women's cricket who has had more centuries in a year than Tasman Brits. So even that, she's on form. Sunelis, again, with her as well, she was on form in her own way. I think for me, the only person that was probably was Annika Bosch, and it wasn't her fault. She's coming from injury. You know, that's the thing about cricket that I've come to understand is that sometimes when you're not been playing for a while, you may not understand mentally what is happening with you. You know how to play a cover drive, but for some odd reason, you're not getting that cover drive. You don't know why your feet are moving, but I guess it's one of those situations where you have not been playing for a bit and the pressure itself.
I'm a bit, yeah. Obviously,
Give me your take. 'Cause
yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I'm thinking there's a million things going through my head. It's, I think it is about matchmakers at the end of the day, and like you said, people stepping up into their responsibilities. It is a team of 11, and all 11 have a responsibility. Usually when you do have momentum, it carries over to the rest of the order if it comes to batting. Similarly to bowling, if you have rhythm and if you have momentum, it carries over to the next partnerships. Partnerships are so important. I think that's what we couldn't do. I think Yafta was the only player in that first game that scored double digits. And no one technically stepped up, but for the rest of the tournament, they did. I think Bosch is technically a good player, but yeah, unfortunately, her scores has not showed the same result in terms of what you see her maybe at training or on TV and how they practice and stuff. Maybe at a provincial games and maybe there is that mental side that plays a role. Because I think in her past, how many innings that she played for the Proteas, her scores aren't looking that great. But the coaching staff and the team, everybody still believed in her, and I think that's why she still got that position. She just didn't fire.
Yeah, she didn't.
In the World Cup.
And I think it's one of those hard things I feel for coaches because there's that situation where you want to believe in the player, support the player, and the player knowing that the coach has my back no matter what. So I can play with freedom. In the sense, this is the same Annika Bosch during a T20 World Cup in the semi-final, took South Africa to a semi-final, to a final. You know, so I think we are still there. And again, as I'm saying, she wasn't, again, at the best or maybe the consistency maybe we would have liked from her. But she was showing more, what do you call this? She was showing a bit more with her batting and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, as I was like, I really feel like the injury did disturb some of her momentum.
I didn't know about the injury. Or I wasn't aware about the...
She came from injury. That's why she wasn't around. Because if you, just before the World Cup, if the number 3 position, Nondumiso, Shangas, was batting at 3 at some point. Karabo Mesa was batting at 3 at some point. So...
on the few games she played, that's correct. Yeah.
So hence she wasn't really part of the team. And then out of the blue, well, she made the team. Let me not say out of the blue. She made the team. And some people would have probably liked either Faye Tunnicliffe to be picked because
she's on form.
She's on form, provincially. Or others would have probably especially maybe your Indian fans, would have probably said, Dane, Kerk, you know.
That's also another conversation to
Do you
be
know what
had.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there were specific things that the coach could have gone with, but I guess he wanted to go with something that's tried and tested, someone who
Support.
probably understands the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you have a player that surprised you?
Nadine. Like, I knew Nadine has, she has showcased it previously. She has that big match temperament. And it's like every time the Proteas play in a match that doesn't have a lot of high stakes, it's like she doesn't perform well. But anything where the pressure is more and there's more at stake, it's like de Klerk just revels in it. It's like she fuels from it. I would, if I personally, I relate to that because all of our, how can I say, lower level league games, I usually don't take that seriously, which I shouldn't, you know. And then I would go out to simple slow balls, for example. Everybody knows a slow ball gets me out. But then if we get to league semifinals and finals or tournaments with semifinals and finals, then just start playing. Love that competition, that added pressure in a sense, where that added pressure is turned into something greater. And I think she was for me the real surprise because she's hit some balls, she's hit some sixes, but I've never seen her play like she did at this World Cup.
She was the finisher.
She was amazing.
She was a finisher. Let me just get to our bowlers just a bit. So our bowling unit had Nadine, had Marizan, or it had Ayabonga Kaka, it had Class, Masabata Class, Tumisikukune. And then spinning wise, we'll get to the spinners later.
Yeah.
That unit, how did they perform in Indian conditions? Or let me say subcontinent conditions because 2 matches were played in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, Kaka played a lot. The little that I watched of her bowling or saw was more consistency to me at the end of the day. I really can't talk to the conditions in a sense. Those pitches, they looked flat in certain senses, but you put spinners on and then they don't look flat anymore. Some of them did provide movement off the seam and things like that. I don't think everybody struggled, but I would say at one point taking wickets, where the wicket takers is one thing to have a low economy, but I can't specifically talk to a specific player in a sense. But I would say, I mean, if you're a professional, I think if you compare, no, we can't compare the men's game, but in terms of accuracy and grouping, I think some of the grouping maps on our side were a lot more scattered, and that just gives the batting side a bit more time to come into the game, because now you're banging it 3 in on a good length, let's say back of a length. Players can't do much with that. Next ball wide, maybe on the offside, maybe next ball right, a bit too straight. Then just those 2 balls out of 3 that were great, how's your 6th ball going to go and what are you going to do there now about it? So I think it's maybe bowling plans that in certain cases I would think wasn't executed, but I can't fault our bowlers, but I also can't speak more to that. But that's just what I saw. Kapi did obviously well, but it's like she was our main bowler, and if she wasn't bowling, everybody was like, this is going to go for runs, or that might have been the case.
Out of those bowlers, 3 of them are in their 30s, probably from 32, 33. Marizan, I think she's 35. They won't be playing. I doubt they're going to be playing in the next World Cup. Now, specifically the 50 over World Cup. So it transitions, need to start happening. We have Vutumi, who's still under 20. You have Nadine, who's there. It's going to be interesting how we're going to use Anari going forward.
Who?
Anari Dixon.
Well, Anari, okay.
It's going to be interesting how we use her going forward, in the sense that she become more of a batter, does she become a genuine all rounder, or do we go for more the bowling all rounder with her? Because it, and then you have Ayanda Hlubi, who didn't go to the World Cup. You have
Oh yeah, it will be.
Western Province bowler, Caitlin.
Yeah.
And then I know Elise Marie Marks as well.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
those are the bowlers that come into my head that are probably in line to replace those ones. I'm talking about more your pace, or maybe they have bounce or something like
Yeah.
that. Would you suggest with the coaching staff maybe to start to work on that cycle, get those bowlers in, maybe start slowly phasing out the others where they maybe play more T20, since there's a T20 World Cup coming and Olympics that are coming. So, but in terms of 50 over cricket, that's really coming probably 3 years time. When
Yeah.
we get these young guys.
You are going to see that now, because that's usually what happens in games after World Cups, of my experience of it, even with the men. Once there's a World Cup, all those players go rest
Yeah.
because they did what they needed to do. They deserve it. For example, our women. So I believe all the incoming or outgoing series that we're now going to have is going to include those names. Who's that other girl? They showed her a lot on TV as well. I think it's Mia Nay Smith. She's a batter. Is she a batter?
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bowl batting all round. She was a spinner.
She's also in the ranks, for example, and all those names that you mentioned now in terms of the bowlers, I think all our incoming and outgoing series are going to include them, because that's just the logical thing to do as a coach. Because how else you just want to play with the same old players, same.
And we play Ireland in about a month's time.
Perfect platform.
In a sense, again, Ireland is not, no disrespect to Ireland, but they're not one of the strongest teams. They have some good players, Gabby Lewis, Amy Hunter, and a few others, but they're not India, they're not England, and they're not Australia or New Zealand. So it's going to be interesting how the coaching staff goes and who they pick for that series. Because again, if you go to the batters, Laura probably has to start to get a new batting partner, with Brett's being also in her late 30s. In the sense, do we have Brett's bat when she's 38 still play for the Proteas, or do we start to look for a new batting partner for Laura in terms of the 50 over? T20, I think she still stays. Or when does it start?
I think you're good to go. 36 is the new living age for people has jumped from 80 to 100, because we are living in a society that, and in a world that has now the technology and the information for us to live longer in terms of our health, to look after it, how we're looking after it. The mechanisms and the resources are out there today. So why are we just assuming, because this is the past, that players stop playing at 36 and 37? I think if you take someone that has been in the system for years at provincial level going up, I think at one point you get heartful of playing national. Even though you love maybe representing your country, I think at one point you want to go travel the world as a young person and not necessarily as an old person. You might want to start a family. There's other considerations as to, I think, why people in their 30s do leave the game in the majority of the times. But if you take how many players in their 30s leave, but they go still on and play T20s all around the world. So it's not that they're physically not there. So what is the argument? Or why are... It's all about we must develop and we must bring in. But if you have the cuppies that wants to, for example, stay in and just hand over the baton for another 2 or 3 years, or just coach and inspire a few, not coach, but, lead.
Mentor.
Yeah, mentor a few other girls for a few years. If it's in her body to do so till the age of 39, let her do so. If I can take the example of what World Cup was it? I think it's just before Rassie, with Mornay Steyn was going. he was on his way out in a sense, and Rasi picked him again. Everybody's like, why are you picking Morne? Blah, blah, blah. I think he didn't even play a lot that World Cup, but he was literally there along with Skalk Brits to, because they were the two 38-year-olds, the two 39-year-olds. They're obviously training with him. They're doing all those things, but they are giving so much more back to those players, which I think is a valuable asset. You can't just have just this bunch, 20, 22, and 23-year-olds all play. Suppose you can. Nobody says you can't. But I think it's an added benefit if you have those players in their 30s. I want to take the example of Rensha Pretorius that passed away. Rensha wasn't even old yet. She was only 30 years old. But she came back to the club to come and play after she didn't want to umpire and thingies anymore. And she said she doesn't want to play Premier League cricket. She just wants to be in first division. She wants to mentor the girls. She wants to just lead. She wants to help out where she can. She just wanted to give back to the game at the end of the day. And that's such a selfless role, because if you are late in your 30s and you can still offer and get 50s and 3-wicket hauls and be that, for example, an all-rounder, why not? If you have that matchmaker, there's someone that can win you a final and they are 40 years old, why not have them in that team? Why then just choose a young and just because of development?
You put in good points. You put in good points, and I actually like them. But now, it's not a but I know this is what happens in South Africa. We just put an age in the sense of, let me make an example, Mignon to Priya. She was still good, and she was just cut.
She decided that, I think, because she wanted to go have a life and kids and family. And
that there was also times where in the background,
I'm sure there's a lot going on in the background that we know nothing about.
There were things happening within the background where this is what it is, especially once she got married. It's like, how long is she going to be there? So it is what it is. But you know what? I think one thing that's going to make more players probably stick around in women's cricket, especially in South Africa, I think, is once there is a women's SA20. I think just like with the men's SA20, where they made it a situation where players stop retiring early. I think with women's cricket, I think once that does happen, because it's going to bring, now it's professional, yes, but it's still not where we would like it to be in terms of being professional. But I think that type of competition, because let me make an example. Brits has never played in the 100, has never played in the Women's Premier League in India, has never played in the WPBL, you know. I stand to be corrected, but she's never been even in the CPL, the Women's CPL. So with that, for example, I think more South African players will probably be more exposed to world cricket. I do feel, take Okaka, for example. Kaka has played, I think she played only one season in the Caribbean Premier League. And that's it. And that was the first one, actually. That was the first one. Another player that I Mlaba at some point was the world's #1 bowler.
She's still up there.
But she's never been bought. So we use that as a sense of marketing ourselves. Because yes, we do well in this World Cup. We did well in this World Cup. I think Nadine's stocks have gone up. The Indian Premier League, I think, the women's one,
they're now going to buy her.
Soon, yeah. She's been, and here's the thing, she's been part of the Royal Challenge Bangalore there, but she wasn't playing. But I think now they don't have a choice because they love Australian players and English players.
I think there's decision makers up top that does not support women's cricket in a sense. Otherwise, we would have had women's sport more on TV in any case. I don't think there's a number issue for SA20 to have a women's side going, because I think if you start at SA20 side, then who's going to fill your provincial? Because it's within the window where provincial games are being played. Because the SA20 is Jan to Feb, right? I think it's 2 months. So if you now take your entire Western Province, your Lions, your Titans, all your teams, and you make now a SA20 franchise, you're basically going to have to take your first division players to now Premier League provincial level for them to fill those spots, and then for the provinces to play their provincial game with maybe not their stronger sides. Whereas I think the numbers look better, but there is numbers to do so. But I want to drift from the point. But back to the decision makers. So if you take a nation like New Zealand,
Yes.
in terms of men's cricket, their men also don't play as much in the IPL. Their men don't play in the BBL. Their men, maybe here and there you see a few in the CPL. But they go and win World Cups every year. The men, or New Zealand's men, they like T20 World Cups. They like ODI World Cups. They go out and win in the past few years. And I think it's whoever the decision makers are on top, the cricket that they watch, the info that gets to them, that those are the players. And I think it's all about a show. Nadine put up a show at the World Cup. It's all about money, marketing, and viewership if it comes to these tournaments. So they want people that can go and play the big shots. They don't want a technically correct boring player who can make runs. They want someone that hits sixes, that just goes out and hard and play. And I think that's why someone like de Klerk is now going to be chosen. But someone like a Brits, I don't know why she's not been chosen. Maybe because they deem the Aussies or the English or their top orders to be better suited. I don't know. I've no idea how these decisions are made. But that's just what's coming to my mind is it's all a show to start off with. And I think some of the big dogs at the top don't recognize women cricket like they should.
I think one thing that you said there is that it's important. We need to make shows. Our players just need to make a show. Remember what it calls us on Gladiator when is it Ross Crowe?
Yes, Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe, when he says, "Are you not entertained?"
Yeah, not entertained.
So I guess it should be like that. I think if the SA20 for women had to happen for that probably a month or 3 weeks, provincial cricket will probably have to stop in the sense with the men as well. Everything just shuts down.
No, but the men's games don't stop.
No, they do stop.
The men's provincial sides?
Yeah, they do stop. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, you see. I know too much about it.
So they do stop. So it will have to probably be a shutdown for a month, and we see how that goes. But for me, on my end, I would really like an SA20 for women. The PR and including just seeing younger players that are probably coming out that most people won't see, not deviating from the topic that we're speaking about, but like I would like to talk about the young players. CSA's, what's this, in December? You have your under 16 week, you have your under 19 week coming up. Probably your stresses have ended.
They have up until this morning. The stresses are gone. The world is off our shoulders.
Yeah. So picking those teams and seeing young players and what you've seen, do you believe that as well? We also have enough in stock, young players, even to support the SA20 if it had to happen for women?
Suppose we must first talk about first division provincial cricket before we can go to a local level. But I have no idea what's going on there.
I need to say something.
Yeah.
This is why I have Corne here. You see where he starts this from the bottom. Carry on.
You have to look at stuff holistically. I mean, it's similar to, I judge social media because I'm not a social media person. I scroll on it, but I never comment because people are, it's just the internet. But a lot of comments and stuff are just always written without looking at the bigger picture. There's always a bigger picture to look at. So if you want to start an SA20, you first have to look at your first division provincial sides. And who are they? It's key, Border. No, Border doesn't have. Northwest. You see, I don't even know all the teams.
You're talking about the
Eastern Cape,
not Division 1,
Northern
Division
Cape.
2.
Yeah.
It's your Poland. It's Poland. It's Border. It's Eastern Province,
Yes.
Kai,
Yes, Kai was that was on the key, yeah.
and then you have your Easterns
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So what
Free
is
State is back there now.
so questions? Well, what is going on there? Why don't we know what's going on there? We are involved in a lot of cricket and we have no idea what's going on in first division on that level. If they do broadcast it on YouTube, I don't see it. I see the school games and some of the other stuff, but you don't see women's second division on TV at all. But in terms of local level, where we do see the players coming through, there is talent. No idea what's going on in the other provinces, but we sure do have talent. However, there is there is some players that lack the long term vision. There are players at the high school level that are not. It's like it's not sinking into them that they can make a career out of this now. And it's like they are just there because they play well. They don't do extra work. They don't put in extra time. There are literally some of them are just there on raw talent, but they're not going to make it. They are not going to go play Proteas. They're not going to go and play provincial seniors because they're not putting in the time and effort. I think it comes down to my education and having people or coaches in your life that can make you see that bigger picture. Is it just a parent pushing a player to get there? Is it a player that wants to get there? If you take someone like Faye, she still even plays club cricket. Okay, she does broadcast on Instagram what she does, but look at the effort she's putting in. Look at how much she's in the gym. Look at how she's running. She's entering marathons. She's doing this. She's doing that. Don't you want those people to be your top players one day? You do. You don't want players to just be there. You want those players to put in the effort and the time on a local level, or on a high school level early on. Obviously within their limits. Your body as a school kid can only do so much. But then when you do get to the age of 19 and 20 and you're not getting now you're out of school, you're not getting now the under 16 provincial, you're not under 19 and you're a bit down on the picking order for provincial cricket, what are you going to do now? Are you going to go and chase that? Are you going to put in work now behind the scenes? Maybe disappear off the radar in a sense for 3 years, go work your butt off, go get your stats together and say, listen, here, after 3 years, this is what I've done. Don't you think I deserve a spot? Or, if someone would look out and say, call a provincial coach and say, listen, look at this under 19 that played 2 or 3 years back and look where she's now. You have, I don't know in the women's case, but I use the example all the time with the men. You have someone like Arasi van der Dussen that debuted at 28 for the Proteas. If you talk about that now in a women's squad, I can't see anybody being chosen as a 28-year-old for a national side. Because everybody develops at a different age, at a different time. How can you just throw out someone that was good at 22? If they still put in the effort, I'm sure they're going to come back. But if they don't put in the effort, they won't come back. Yeah. There was a lot said there. Yeah. Sorry. I jumped.
You said that and the player came to mind. There's a player that came to mind. I'll say that player. There is Sarah Smith from Western Province. Yes. So
Sarah Smith. Where's Sarah Smith? Got you. Yeah. Yes.
So Sarah, not so long ago, debuted for the Proteas around about the same time as Dumisi Kukune. She was, I stand to be corrected, but I think she was also part of the T20 side that went to the World Cup when the World Cup was in the Caribbean. It was probably 2018, 2019. She's playing for the Proteas. And years go by, she doesn't stay long within the Proteas setup. What about Faye as well? And then now, this season, she loses a contract at Western Province. Now, she's been playing cricket for a while. She's a senior player, in that side. And I'm sure she's probably going to play again for Western Province this season, but she's here to play this season to date. The day of this recording, she's here to play again for Western Province. A player like that, for example, we're speaking about careers, so it went really high, and then it just goes a bit low, a bit. And now she has to, again, probably taking that advice that you just said.
Working to get yourself back into it.
Take time off, work and maybe look for a different province, you know, because again, you take a team like SWD. So we were discussing something with Maddie a few weeks back. We were talking about SWD, is that their whole team is literally made of players not from the region itself. So none of them actually came from the development. The next day, when they play Western Province, I think one or two players, but the bulk of the side is players from outside. And I think the point I'm trying to say is that there's probably as well opportunities outside your own safe
Yeah.
space and to go see what you can do.
You do see that. You've. I mean, okay, I've been for the few years I've been in Cape Town. You can see. Look, there's only so many players that can be in a team and that can be in a squad. And if if you as a coach are getting pressure from other way, that also influences what you choose and how you choose your team and squad. But if you fall out of favor within your current team, why not go for another opportunity? But it's about putting in the work. If you think about someone like Tasman Britt that had to go through how many injuries and with her things from being Olympic javelin thrower and the accident and you can't just come back from those things because you want to. You need to put in so much physical, mental hard work to get back where you want to be. So if you're at Western Province and you're not getting contracts, is it not telling you something? Are you reflecting on your game? What has my past 5 years been like? What did I do in the past 5 years? Do I deserve to lose my contract or not? That is for you to answer, nobody else. If players, it's like it's similarly to the provincial girls at school. So many players watch the game on TV and they just want to play like them. And they watch the men's games. They don't even watch the girls' games. I'm like, stop watching men's cricket. Start watching women's cricket. We play differently. We do things differently. Our bodies work differently. Those goals, our Proteas that we watched on TV, that we watched in that final, spend how many hours a week in a gym? Spend how many hours a week running? Spend how many hours in it, taking in the right nutrition? And then all these other girls, they just go home and they eat whatever they want. They have the McDonald's because they want, and they just chicken strips and chips everywhere because that's what all the kids these days eat apparently. But how are you going to fuel a body with that?
They actually eat those McDonald's at the trials during lunch.
You see, and
And
that's
it's the parents that bring them.
that's part of the problem. So you have a kid that has a lot of talent, mentally wants to be there, but if that kid doesn't go out, I had a speech with the girls. At trials, I did tell the girls, I was like, listen, girls, you need to go. You guys need to be busy during winter. You guys need to be doing so much more with your bodies to really go out and perform, because you see these things on TV and you want to play like them, but you don't know where the state of their bodies are compared to yours. You need this to play cricket. And if you don't look after this, how are you going to play your game to the fullest of level, to the full extent, without injuries? If I just talk injury, I think there's been so many injuries, just small niggles of things. It's injuries that haven't been that doesn't have prior origins or whatever. That's just now new injuries, and all happening now at the beginning of the season. So what do you tell me that?
Fitness.
Because you did nothing during winter. Cape Town, it rains during winter. So there's so much time not to go out and do anything, but actually to train and work your body to get it to a level where you can play good cricket. And that counts for everybody at every level.
Is that also done because, again, coaches don't put emphasis on fitness, or even coaches don't put emphasis on preseason? Like, if once the cricket season ends, right, nothing really happens. And then maybe more July or August, all of a sudden we start meeting up. But now there's no time to do the running. We want to go back to the nets. And then we start practicing more in the nets.
Why are we doing net sessions in winter? Winter training is not net sessions. So then the coach is doing the wrong thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we speak about the difference between men's cricket and women's cricket. I do feel like with women's cricket, a lot of the players, because some of them don't watch the game probably obsessively as the boys.
70% don't watch it at all,
That's true.
in my opinion.
And with that, they rely a lot on the coaches. So whatever the coach says, oh, this is what we're going to do.
Mm.
And it also doesn't help the fact that women's cricket doesn't play on the channels that are more open,
Yeah.
you know.
But like the game is also so difficult that you. So, for example, me at club level, during winter preseason, we do fitness. If we start our trainings at 5 o'clock, by 6, just after 6, it's dark. So then we use that darkness and do some fitness, right? But when the season comes and we have our 2 full hours of sun, we use it for fielding, batting, and bowling. It's not my responsibility as a club coach to get players fit, because when are we going to? When are going to be going to train cricket and practice cricket and bowling and batting and technicals or whatever, or fielding? I can do fitness with them for 2 hours, but when are we going to do cricket? It's up to the players. If they have private coaches and they listen to them, yay. If they have parents that maybe were previously in, let's say, professional sport or at high levels or at provincial levels, then they might carry over something. But I can't see that happening a lot. That isn't happening a lot, because I do see the girls on the ground and the injuries are happening because they are just unconditioned and unfit.
That's you hit one, because one of the reasons that people tend to say women's cricket is boring, they're not looking at maybe sometimes the differences, but there's a difference between the concept of why is it slow and sometimes the fitness part of it.
The fitness part is not going to make it quicker.
No. I'm talking about the how do I put this? The quick thinking. Let me make it some footwork movement coming out in the sense of even running. You know, someone is batting within five overs, or within the first 10 overs, some of them are already a bit tired, and you can see from the running up, because a lot of them don't get boundaries, but it's more of your ones, your twos that they have to probably run. And that fitness that I'm literally talking about per se.
Let's say the 2 kilometer benchmark.
Yeah.
Look, I think you don't need more in cricket. Just go out and do something. The more you put in, the better you're going to play. Because your physical latches onto your mental. As soon as you get tired, you lose concentration. We all know that. So why are you not getting fit? So that you can stay longer focused.
Yeah.
These are conversations that coaches, I'm sure, have had with players. But if they're not having these conversations with them, but also you can only take a horse to the water. You can't make them drink. You don't know what these kids are. I think the other thing is the kids have too busy schedules. They don't have time to do anything. They have time barely to freaking eat and drink, because they are doing 5-6 sports maybe at school, some of the girls, and others are maybe just doing one here and there, where those are those that do one sport usually don't put in that much. I think that's maybe a very broader conversation I'm going into now. That's maybe not the right platform here. But I do think the kids are too busy, some of them. Their schedules are very full in terms of the context and environment where I come from. And then they're just not taking it seriously. They just want to play because they can.
This was a interesting topic, actually a good one. But before we end, there's something that you spoke about, and I actually been thinking about it a lot. And we spoke about it just a bit. If there was a SA20, all those matches will need to be on TV for women. But we do have provincial cricket. And right now, the men are playing the CSA T20 Challenge. And 2 seasons ago, which will be 2 years ago, what they did was they made this big PR situation where they were showing women on TV.
Yeah, they did broadcast some T20s and 50 overs at provincial level last year. They did.
Yeah.
The year before.
So no, it was 2 years ago. So
Was
they
it 2 years
did
ago?
the two
Is it long ago
T20.
that
Yeah,
already?
it was that last season.
Didn't see.
And here's the thing. Now we're talking about momentum. The women's side went
Yeah.
to 2 World Cups,
Yeah.
T20 World Cups.
Yeah.
But yet last season there was no matches broadcasted on TV.
We didn't even have a representative in India for the final.
I'm not gonna go there. That's another one.
We don't have support for women's cricket in our country. I'll say it louder. We need more.
Again, this season, still none. And it would have been a perfect time to do those double headers where the guys may play, but the women will play as well on the same day. You know,
Make it similarly like the 100. The
Exactly.
women's game first and let the men's game go second. Make that the last game.
so that's that as well. So you ask yourself, when people talk about growing the game, what is that they mean about growing the game? Because if 2 years ago we were at a high level, and then we come back the following year, we are here, and we're claiming we are growing the game, and we're claiming we're growing the game, what do we mean? What are we talking about? Because without the game being on, without the PR of the game growing, the game is not going to really grow.
Yep.
There's only so much that Nadine's innings can do, or Laura's innings can do. But if, again, they're not seeing it, I always look at it this way. Take Coca-Cola. Everyone drinks Coca-Cola. This is not your ad for you, but everyone drinks Coca-Cola. But the amount of ads that they do, they make sure you see it, will be at McDonald's. It's the same thing we need for women's cricket, but all we are doing, we're just making sure that, well, they have to promote themselves.
2 years back was the T20 World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah. Me being on a club level had an influx of players 2 years back. A lot of high school girls that started joining because of the World Cup and because they see it on TV. Now it was a 50-over World Cup, and I've not confirmed the reasons, but this is my thoughts that in a spat of 2 weeks' time, I've had 5 women, not girls, women in their 20s wanting to come and play. And I'm also thinking to myself, the T20 obviously is quick and fast. Who watches that? The girls watch a little bit of T20, high school girls, and primary, maybe primary. But in 50 overs, can you imagine a 16-year-old watching an entire 50-over match? How many high school girls do you think watched the Proteas from beginning, from a coin toss until that last ball was bowled? Not a lot, in my opinion.
No.
And that's why I think I got more women in their 20s, because it's older people watching the longer formats of the game, watching. And that comes down to the PR again. It was on TV now.
Yeah,
we were
yes,
watching
yes.
all of it. It was brilliant to watch. Everybody enjoys it. And that is why they are coming out of the ranks. We'll have more if... Imagine your level of participation at lower levels if an SA20 for women drop.
They started with this SA20 for school girls as well. So it's boys and girls under 19. And now with the boys, I feel the skill level, the quality of it, I think it's higher because these are teams which are, it's your general school teams that play cricket. They put a lot of investment into cricket. You'll have your hubs, but mainly the ones that make it in the finals is usually the schools that invest. But with women's cricket, or let me say the girls' cricket specifically, in the SA20, the quality has not been as great because, so with the girls, there's no really a school that you can say this school specializes in cricket per se. Now, again, we look at, because I even listen to the commentators sometimes, and they're really trying to sell it. They're really trying to sell it, but you can see that. And now, for someone who knows and understands what's happening within under 19 or under 16 cricket, there's other players that are actually better than those players that are playing right there. Maybe it's not the best team, but chances are a team will have maybe four or maximum five really players that can play cricket. But the other six, they're just passengers within the SA20. So it doesn't necessarily help. It's a start, I would say. But again, if nothing really happens, because cricket is, as much as an individual sport, it's a team sport. You need all those 11 players.
That's what makes it perfect.
No, you need those players because you'll have your spinners, you have your pace bowlers, you have your all-rounders, your batting all-rounder. Everyone plays a specific role. Someone who's an opener. No one can do everything.
I want to latch onto your point where you spoke about comparing what you see in terms of boys and girls. You can't compare an under-19 boys side to an under-19 girls side. So today you can't compare. Stop comparing to start off with. If we do want to go compare, again, I said this on our previous podcast, we do not have enough girls playing between the ages of 7 and 13. Because all those boys playing under 19 and under 16, I'm telling you, 95% of them started playing at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11. And that is why they're on a level when they're on 19. But our girls are playing in high school, late primary here and there, those that have, or if it's with Booty or against the boys' sides. There's not enough girls being developed earlier. It takes time to learn this game. You're going to get the prodigals that maybe come out of the ranks and they pick up a bat at 17 and in 2 years they can almost play provincial. You're going to get that, but that's the lesser amounts of players. We need more players to play the game from a lower age so that they can become better at an older age. And then, again, girls are not small men. Women are not small men. We don't play like men. We play the game differently. We literally don't have testosterone in our levels. Like we do, but a little bit. Our game will never be in golf, the men tee further back, the women tee off earlier. In cricket, the boundaries are smaller. Tennis, for example, the field's the same. Rugby, fields are the same. But we don't kick as far. We don't throw as hard. We don't do, but we play the game still with much as technique as the men do. We get the scores. We also get centuries. We get our hundreds. Look at our Proteas. How can we now actually not compare them to the men? Because they're scoring a 330, 340, 360. The previous men's World Cup went to 400, and I'm sure women are also going to get there. It's going to take a bit longer because women's cricket has always been on the bottom end of the food chain. Or women have always been at the bottom of the food chain. So as society is progressing and moving into a modern world, we are getting into those spaces. We are getting more people that's supportive of it. But we are still going to have the naysayers like, why do we need to put an SA20 woman on the TV? And then where's the people that's going to counter those arguments and put up a good motivation and fight for it behind the closed doors that we don't know nothing about? So, yeah.
Probably that's the reason why they probably were like, we're not having the T20 matches again. I don't know what the broadcaster is thinking. I'm hoping that's not the reason where they're like, scores were low, but it starts somewhere. And I always say this, that it starts somewhere. Every part is part of the journey. And the more PR, the more person understands the game, the more people watch. Hey, it doesn't matter, man. I feel, because with those matches 2 years ago, I just want to go back a bit. With those matches 2 years ago, if I remember correctly, the first match was the Titans versus the Dolphins, and they didn't score much, and that's the thing about cricket. Sometimes when people are given an opportunity, people expect you to just rock up and be that good. And sometimes it takes a while in the sense of, because these players, one, they don't necessarily even sometimes, what do you call this? They don't get much support in terms of people watching them. So knowing that sometimes you're going to be on TV, that sometimes can put just a bit of nerves. And also knowing that I am pretty much sure they were told, guys, it's so important that we perform here, because whatever we do here will propel us to the next stage. So now, right now, you're already putting that pressure, let alone you have pressure to score runs, or you have a pressure to field, or you have a pressure to bat, those are just cricket. Now, other things get added. But what I would say the broadcaster doesn't understand, and maybe CSA, it does, again, we're talking about, I don't know the
Whoever's
decision
making those
makers,
decisions.
is that sometimes it takes time for people to also to understand, well, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to play and I'm going to get better because, well, I've been playing for a while now and I'm understanding the pressure of it. But now there's other things that are being put, so added pressure that is so unnecessary, but it is there.
Yeah.
And and I can't imagine for the Proteas can you imagine if when the T20 World Cup was here and they didn't pass the group stages?
Luckily, they didn't.
Oh man, Corne, it was really good to have you here this week.
Pleasure. Thanks for asking me again.
We spoke about obviously the Proteas. Try not to speak about them too much. We spoke about
We can. They deserve it.
yes. No, the thing is we have such a limited time.
Yeah.
So we tried to speak about everyone as much. We didn't speak about much about provincial cricket, what's happening there. We touched on it just a bit, but not that much. But this time around, I think we spoke more about development. And that's something that we didn't speak about much last time.
Yeah.
So thank you for pulling through and literally speaking about it. I know one of the young players from Western Province, Mia, who was the CSA under 16 week player of the year. She debuted for Western Province, took 1 wicket, I think in the T20 match. She was okay. I think she looked good. So she's going to be, I don't know where she's going to play, whether you guys are going to play in the under 16 or under 19 team. Either way, I really hoping she does well as the rest of the team and the other players of other teams. But I speak about her because she's one of those players that I saw even before she even went to trials.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point we come back and we speak about what is the process of the development of a player.
Yeah.
Because we spoke about parents. We spoke about players putting in their work on their own. What is it that they need to do during the off season? What is it that is also expected of them as well? Even watching the game, what does it mean, to watch the game? Because again, provincial matches play on a weekend and they are free. And if you're free on a Saturday and Western Province is here, why not go watch? Since it's not on TV.
They'd rather go to the movies, unfortunately, at this point in time.
So yes. So this conversation I really enjoyed on those bases.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting through. Last words?
Thank you.
Last words. You have to have last words.
Last words. I did have a point in my head a second ago. You spoke about Mia. I want to take the example of the younger men that are now on the Protea side, the Luandre Pretorius, the Brevises, and all of that. Brevis a few years back, was it not 3 years back, when he started arriving in at the side, and everybody was like, why don't you know we're going to the World Cup? Why didn't you put Brevis there? He's so much better. Blah, 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 blah. And then there were a few games where he didn't make score and things, because sometimes things should happen at the right time. People should stop pushing certain things and certain players just because they think they are good. Let players evolve naturally. Stop pushing for whatever reason, and let kids be kids at the end of the day too. Because if I'm still if you're still at school and you're 16-year-old, you're supposed to be a kid. You're not supposed to actually be doing a lot of adult stuff. So that's just what I also say. Let the kids be kids, and let the players develop like they should. If someone peaks at 17 and they're now the best, what's going to happen if they're 25? Is 17 going to be their peak? Everybody peaks at a different age. So we can't throw at others just because they haven't peaked yet. And we can't make too much of a big buhai because of others. They are kids at the end of the day.
And those are the last words, guys. Thank you for tuning in on Leading Edge with Saint, featuring Corne and Ramli Podcasters. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Leading Edge with Saint, the Pulse of Cricket podcast, proudly produced by Roundly Podcast Studio in partnership to bring you the stories and the voices of cricket. Until next time, stay on the leading edge of the game.